I know I've got this.
Oh, quiet. It's 4:30. There we go. Good afternoon. Welcome to West-MEC Governing Board regular meeting and executive session. Looks like we're just missing one board member, Terry Steins. We do have a quorum. We'll go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. We have Miss Genesis Parrish, Administrative Assistant at the Career Academy at Agua Fria. Welcome.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
Second,
Second, okay, call the question.
I have to do a vote. So I vote aye. Hasn't come up yet, right?
Might have to get out of
I had to click on show voting. Voting doesn't show up on my. Exit full screen. There we go. Yep, voting in the upper right hand corner.
Okay. All right, motion passes. Oh, wait. Two. Summary of current events, starting with Superintendent Dr. Scott Spurgeon.
Jim Ramirez. So since last time we met, there's been several activities that have occurred. I was able to attend, I think, with some others. I think Ed was there. I don't know who else. Linda, I don't think you were able to be there. The West-MEC Economic Development Summit, but they did GCU. Okay, so we were able to go there, and we have had a number of celebrations for the recognition ceremony. So thanks for everyone that was able to attend those meetings and for speaking with the students. Our last one is this Friday for Central Campus. As you know, they have to finish out the last 3 weeks, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week to finish up their hours for A&P. So that's at 2:00 this Friday at Central Campus. Would love to have some of you there if you'd like to attend. I was a panelist for the West Valley Public Education Strategic Forum with other educational professionals talking about workforce development, talking about connections with the community. So we had a good conversation there. And then Mr. Garcia invited me to the Workforce Summit this afternoon. It was myself, Kevin Imes, and Chad Wilson from EBIT, just talking about the importance of CTE and the workforce development around the work that we can do. So great session. So thanks for the invitation. Let's see. Delivered a breakout session presentation for the ASA Summer Conference for all secondary administrators, talking about building culture and bringing individuals into the strategic plan. So we had a good conversation there. Did a tour with Glendale Economic Development Team for the Southeast Campus and Central Campus. Again, we try to bring those groups in maybe at least once a year to keep them updated on what's going on with us. And we share ideas about what's happening with them in the cities. Got a chance to tour the Southeast Campus with Zach Enter, who's the Executive Director of the Glendale Chamber of Commerce. Got a chance to tour through Robert Garcia, the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Got a chance to visit the Southeast Campus with those folks. Construction meetings, phase 2 of the Career Academy should be kicking off pretty soon. So we're going to start seeing some movement over there within the next few days of moving some dirt, tearing up some parking lots, or at least the north side of the parking lot over there, so we can start working on phase 2. Still in discussion with the city of Buckeye and Buckeye Union High School for the land just west of the southwest campus. They're doing an exchange there, so eventually the city is going to own that land, and so we're still in conversation about what West-MEC might be able to do with some land there just west of the southwest campus. As you know, part of that parking lot was built on Buckeye's land so that they were gonna build their fifth high school there. And they were gonna share the athletic facilities with that one parking lot. So we still have first right of refusal there. And so we're waiting to see how the city's gonna approach that with that 55 acres. So we're still working in conversation with them. Had a chance to meet online with Rock Hill Schools out of South Carolina. They came and visited the Southeast campus via the Department of Labor. So I got the chance to visit with that foundation as well as their superintendent. They're looking at some support for career and technical education. So we're hoping maybe sometime in the fall, they'll be coming out to take a look at some of our facilities. We were able to hire a post-secondary partner manager and a partners program manager since last time we met. With that, that's all I have for this last month. Other than I don't feel very good, so.
Oh. Thanks, Dr. Spurgeon. Yes. yes. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Mr. Garcia.
That's where you spoke up to the. I enjoyed, also I went to the graduation. I thought that was really neat. Students were engaged, very excited, a lot of positivity came out of it. That's all. Thank you.
Ms. Bosom.
Great, so on the 14th, I attended that West-MEC Economic Development Summit, and that was pretty cool. And they talked about, you know, the growth in the West Valley and the 9 key industries and how many new businesses, employees, and age demographics, all that kind of stuff. So it was very informative. Then on the 21st, I spent the entire day at the Central Campus for recognition ceremonies. And then later that evening, traveled to the Project Search at the Renaissance Hotel for Luke Air Force and the Renaissance Completers. And then, of course, on May 28th and the 29th, we went over to the Vineyard Church and spent both days for the recognition ceremonies. And I have to say, it's always my favorite time of the year when we see all our hard work come to, you know, to fruition. And so it's wonderful. And then on June 4th, I went over to the Central Campus and we met CEO John Hiltz from the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum, his education program, and how that was progressing. And I have to give a, you know, thumbs up to Troy Jabaldron, who's instrumental in this project. But one of the things I thought was really cool, because I mean, they do have their education service, but they use that museum as a community resource. So they take elementary students and they learn math and science lessons through an aviation lens. And I just thought that was just so cool. And so far they've invested like $1.2 million to date to bring this into fruition. Let's see here. Then on June 8th, I attended the West-MEC Zoom, and Susan Land, who is our work-based learning specialist, was presenting. And she just talked about, you know, West-MEC super growth and our 6 new campuses and the 36 programs that we have, and, you know, how some programs are in high demand. And a lot of them aren't available in all our schools because they don't have the space and technology to put it in there. And then the 6 tenets to be a West-MEC business partner, and how specialized we are with our work based learning. And then how we have earned like 9,000 credentials over, you know, almost a dozen more than what we had from last year. So that was the close of my month. So.
Thank you. Ms. Wiley.
I attended a couple of graduation ceremonies, but this one.
Mr. Strug.
I attended some of the graduation ceremonies as well, and just congratulate everybody. It's the best days of the year to see the students come across, and so it was all well done.
So real quick, we had 1,760 completers, 100 more than last year.
100 more? Yes.
Nice. Selena?
West-MEC Economic Development Summit at GCU. couple of the completion ceremonies on the 28th and 29th. What else did I do? I have to say that I thought this year for the completion ceremony, the less that we board members get up there to speak, I think the better, because the students don't want to hear us talk. They want to get done and get across the stage and get on with their lives, and so.
That was my speech.
So I think that's a good approach going forward. I mean, nobody wants to hear me talk, so I'll shut up.
Doing some pre-pictures and things. We did some things to expedite the process, so next year we might be able to reduce the amount of time in between sessions by half an hour or so. Speed it up just a little bit.
It really went smooth.
I thought it had a lot smoother this year than last year even, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing was, and then of course, that goes to the work that the staff put into making it happen, so thank you for that.
I did cut my book speech down in half, so.
I wasn't throwing in stones.
I just want to share, besides everything that Ms. Bosom shared about the meeting with the CEO, John Hills from the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum. Well, first also want to thank Troy. I don't know if Troy is here. Thanks to Troy for all his hard work in getting them the support that they need. But one of the things that really surprised me, and if I understood it correctly, in Hawaii, they don't have school districts like we do here. It's just all run by their Department of Education out there. Then another thing is that Hawaii doesn't provide tax dollars for CTE programs. So he has to do all the fundraising himself to support that program. So it made me really appreciative that here in Arizona, we have state tax dollars, to help, to support our program. So it's incredibly difficult for them to get that program up and running. So, I mean, that's, we're definitely very blessed to have those tax dollars here helping us. And in addition to that, I went to several of the graduation ceremonies. Also always a lot of fun. So it went well. Yeah. And then we have this last one coming up on Friday. Yep. That is all I have. Next item on the agenda is call to the public. Do we have anyone from the public speaking today? No one? Oh, okay. All right, I'll make a second call to the public. Third call. Okay, hearing none. Moving on to the next agenda item. Information discussion. So our first item on here is recognitions and celebrations. And we have Ms. Megan Mills, Assistant Superintendent for Strategic Partnerships.
Good evening, Chairman Ramirez, governing board members, Dr. Spurgeon, and our West-MEC community. Tonight, we're going to be honoring the retirement of longtime employee Speranza Cleese. If you can please come up. Last month, we had celebrated her as an employee, as she was recognized as Employee of the Month for the department. And I read so many of her accolades that I wanted to give time to her longtime colleague and now a personal friend, Marilyn Baviar, to please give some remarks about Speranza's incredible leadership here at West-MEC.
Thank you. So when you think of a 30+ year span and 16 years at West-MEC, I have 2 pages, so bear with me. Speranza began her career with West-MEC in 2010. Through the Cutting Edge Academy, a leased cosmetology school partnered with a community college. From the very beginning, she demonstrated exceptional organizational skills, managing nearly 400 students across 3 sessions in a 2-year program. This experience marked the start of a distinguished career dedicated to building post-secondary partnerships and expanding opportunities for students. Throughout her career, Speranza played a vital role in developing many of the West-MEC's early programs. She was instrumental in supporting our EMT and fire science programs and helped establish the aviation partnership with Eastern New Mexico University. Many students have earned associate's degrees because of her efforts. Speranza works closely with our instructors and campus counselors in the area of dual enrollment. Over 15 years or so, students have earned thousands of dual enrollment credits while pursuing their educational dreams. Speranta's impact extends to our member districts of West-MEC as well. She cultivated strong relationships with counselors and administrators, including Peoria, Deer Valley, Paradise Valley, Wickenburg, Awafria, Tolleson, and many others. She was the creator of the Counselor Grant Program, which remains strong and successful initiative today. Through this program, countless counselors have helped fulfill West-MEC's mission. She also authored and kept current the student handbook. Her commitment and collaboration throughout the West Valley and beyond, she serves on numerous committees and advisory boards and at higher education institutions. She works closely with all 3 state universities, Maricopa Community Colleges, and colleges across Arizona and neighboring states. Through years of dedication, she developed trusted relationships with presidents, chancellors, educational leaders, creating partnerships that continue to benefit West-MEC students today. As one of West-MEC's original employees, Speranta shaped the district before there was even a campus. She witnessed and contributed to the development of 6 campuses and played a significant role in the planning of many programs that we offer today. Most recently, she established a partnership with the Paradise Valley Community College that continues to create valuable opportunities for students. Speranta's influence has also been felt at the state, regional, and national levels. She's presented at conferences across all 3 levels and served as a fellow in the post-secondary division of ACTE. While she received numerous professional honors, including being named ACTE AZ Counselor of the Year, her greatest strength has always been the willingness to recognize and support others. She has written nominations and recommendations that have helped many colleagues receive awards and advance their own careers. Her generosity, humility, and commitment to other success are among the most admirable qualities. I could spend all evening sharing stories about Speranta's accomplishment, but this only begins to capture the legacy she leaves behind. Thank you for your unwavering dedication to the West-MEC's mission of preparing students today for tomorrow's careers, and your resilience in supporting students and families, as you were supported yourself when you came here from Romania at 18 and only spoke French and Romanian. Speranta didn't know the language, but she persevered, went to school, became an English teacher, and then a counselor. And with her husband, Pete, has raised 3 children and loved on 5 exceptional grandchildren. West-MEC has been incredibly fortunate to have you over the past 16 years as an employee, colleague, mentor, and friend, and her legacy will continue to impact students and staff and partners for many years to come. Congratulations on your retirement, and contributions will not be forgotten, and your presence will be deeply missed.
Thank you for having me once again. I've had a career of 41 years, and this past 16 years have really been the most meaningful to me here at West-MEC, because I got to do what very few people have a chance to do in their lifetime, is to build a district. Like Marilyn shared, we didn't have campuses when I started, when Marilyn and I both started. So we got to build a district. We got to build, handbooks and policies and documents and programs, and meet with architects, and just do so many of the things that have resulted in this exceptional district that is now nationally recognized. And I just couldn't be more proud of my work, the support of the board, so many brilliant colleagues, leadership and vision that is continuing to build West-MEC into what it is. I'm glad that Marilyn mentioned a little bit about my personal story, but I've been shaped by the fact that as an immigrant coming to this country, I've been helped by so many people. I couldn't have accomplished what I did without the help of others. So this is what has served as my North Star in paying back to the students, and doing everything I could in my power to advocate for systemic change, for grants, for anything that helps students to fast forward their career, for all of the post-secondary pathways, so that they can continue to grow and enrich their lives. So it's been my greatest privilege to be here at West-MEC, and I really miss everyone so much. I love this work, and I could probably do it for the next 25 years, but it's time to go to my next chapter, so thank you.
Thank you.
Why? I spent many years studying.
Yeah.
Too many years together, huh?
Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Great, congratulations, Bronson.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And moving on to legislative and business partnership update. Ms. Megan Mills again.
Evening again,
Evening.
Chairman Ramirez, governing board members, and Dr. Spurgeon. I'm here to give you some information and an update on the legislative process. The legislator has not fully adjourned. Negotiations are still underway. If you're curious to know where that budget is standing, I invite you to the Joint Legislative Budget Committee's webpage for details of that $18.29 million budget that's associated with those bills. In the final days here, you might see activity related to the bills. Things can change at a moment's notice. They may be talking right now with each other, making decisions as I'm presenting an update to you in real time. The bills that we've been tracking are there in front of you. Those are an updated status for you on the different legislative activities that could have some level of impact on West-MEC. They're the same bills that I've been reporting to you on since about February. So with that, I welcome any questions you have, but wanted to present to you the latest update. Again, we're anticipating sign die on Friday. From that point in time, the governor will have approximately 10 days to take action on the bills, whether to veto those, pass those, or if she takes no action, they do automatically become law.
You have an idea if there's a likelihood of all these passing, or you kind of on the fence?
Depending on that budget and where things fall within each respective elected leader's interest in a certain bill passing or not, but for the most part, the elected officials and all legislation seems to be pro CTE at this point, so there's really no concerns in terms of impacts to West-MEC that would be negative.
Oh, okay.
The only one I'm concerned from that perspective is that term limit, 8 years consecutive, and I can serve more than 8 years, but you have to take a 4-year break. Is that the way?
Correct, so she's referring to the second item on your list, which is HB 2318 governing board limits. So it is passed in the House, it is pending a full vote by the Senate. And it would impose a 4-year break if you serve those 8 consecutive terms.
Just like terms. But they don't have that for legislators.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's who needs it.
Yeah.
There's districts that don't have a full board and they can't get anyone to serve.
Yeah. Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Moving on to superintendent goals. And that has been presented by Mr. Jerry Guy, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning.
Good evening, Chairman Ramirez, members of the board, Dr. Spurgeon, happy to kick off our goal update tonight with with great news. So that's always fun to come and report the great news. So I'm gonna start with the first three goals that in our teaching and learning team, we really champion a lot of these goals along with everyone throughout the district. And so our first goal is around high value credentials. And as you guys know, our high value credentials that we target and really focus on are those credentials that are validated by our advisory councils, that are really those next level credentials that are most important for our students to achieve. We had set a goal of 91% of completers within 1 year would achieve those high value credentials. And we're happy to report tonight that 96% of our completers have achieved those high value industry credentials. This number has grown every single year, both the number of total credentials earned as well as the high value credentials. There is so many efforts on all parts from our teachers, of course, our campus administrators, our career services team, student services. Everyone pitches in to really make sure that these credentials are a priority for our teachers, and we align our curriculum. And our curriculum instruction team, of course, works very hard to make sure those are embedded within our curriculum and supports our teachers along the way. So truly just a credit to everyone involved in that as we go around statewide and throughout the country. Truly the number of credentials that we're producing for our students is unmatched anywhere that we've been able to find. So just really sets our students apart from others. So we're happy to share that success tonight.
Can I ask a question? A credential, can you define exactly what a credential is?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're different in every single program. So a credential is it's a third-party validation by industry of the skills that students are learning.
So
So
it's like a certification.
a certification, yes. Yep. So
Same thing, yes,
Good.
exactly.
same thing, credential, certification, licensure. We use the term credential that kind of is that umbrella that represents all of those. Yep.
So the official term across the country is an IRC or an industry recognized credential. It's that one that's been validated by business and industry that says for those students completing this program, this will be the most valuable credential for students to leave us to go right into that program.
Some people that are watching online or may watch it later understand what exactly that is.
And Jared, you might talk about the testing center as well and how beneficial that's been for us.
On that, just so I'm clear, I think I recall, these are for students that graduated last year and then got a credential this past year. So we're only counting last year's graduates and then this past year of what they've done.
So the students that graduated in 25, some of them already achieved their high value credential, but some can't take that until they're 18 years old. So we have to finish the entire year for them to come back and complete that. So that's how many students we get that are still left and still come back and finish that credential. And that's why it's big.
So they're coming back and testing and
Mhm.
And then do we know, like, automotive has up to 14? Do we know 100% of our students got at least one credential? And if it's like automotive, they only got one of 14, so is that really gonna help them? Is there some way we can kind of show that?
We have the number of all credentials.
Oh, yeah, we have detailed reports of every single program, every single credential earned. So absolutely, we can break that down and share with the board and as much detail as.
I don't wanna tell it, I'd like high level, I'm just thinking, like EMT is one, so if they got one, they're good.
Yeah.
But if automotive is the one that always seems to throw me off, because if they got, I don't know, there's some that,
Yeah.
changing a tire doesn't really mean much.
Unless you have a flag.
Yeah. IT security is another one where there's multiple credentials in that program versus like an EMT or a hairstyling, the cosmetology license is it's the one, right?
So maybe EMT and the cybersecurity, you could just break down differently for us. Hey, this many received 1 to 5, 6 to 10, or more than 10.
Yeah.
That way we could just kind of have, because I think that would be helpful to know. I expect there's a big bucket in that.
I think one of the things that we need to recognize is that employers frequently look at those credentials as discriminators in hiring those folks. So when you look at the percentage of our completers that have jobs at the point of completion or are getting jobs shortly after completion, that tells me intuitively that they've got these high value credentials, otherwise employers would not be hiring them.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And so I think, but yeah, there's and just off the top of my head, IT's got probably 10 or 12 different credentials that, and some of them are more valuable than others, especially if you start going into your cybersecurity aspects, it's very competitive. So.
And this represents a good example of how we align the goals throughout the district. So obviously it's a district-wide goal that we set. And then from there, each of our campuses will have goals as a campus for credentials. And then down to the program level, and each teacher sets a credential goal every year. Which obviously that goal for auto looks very different than it does for EMT or another program. So that's where we really capture those. How do we continue to push all programs when all are not equal as far as what the credentials look like? So that's how we really align it, from top down. Next up is our TSA assessments, our technical skills assessments. Just as a reminder, those are Department of Education assessments that are created alongside with industry input to create those assessments, as well as other educators throughout the state. And those are given at the completion of a program, so that students take those exams. Our goal this year was 92% of students passing those TSA exams. And we had 93% of our central program students pass those TSA assessments, which again, very successful. The state average, just for reference, is about 78. I think it close to 80% this year, which has been a great improvement statewide. I think that's the highest it's been statewide, but just as a reference of kind of that average that we compare to. So again, credit to the entire system. Of preparing teachers, making sure they're prepared, providing the resources and support for that high quality instruction every day that's making the difference. Some of these TSA assessments align very well with our credentials, and so it works really nicely when that happens. Sometimes it doesn't always align, but our C&I team does a fantastic job along with our administrators and teachers to make sure we're covering those standards that are critical for TSA, and then also some of those credentials that oftentimes go above and beyond what's required to be standards. And so we create that balance through our curriculum design to make sure that we're meeting that. So again, tremendous success for students, and really these are a big piece of us really validating that technical content knowledge. We have our own West-MEC assessments, but these really validate that along with the credentials for our students.
Sure, you guys also do a deep data dive during the summertime, looking at each area.
Yeah.
And we see areas that we need to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. We had some teachers today here at the corporate office working with our C&I team, starting some of that process and working through a reflection of all the data points, but especially their TSA data and our West-MEC assessments, to make any tweaks and adjustments for next year, whether it's to curriculum, instruction, or assessment, right? It's one of those pieces of the puzzle. If we find an area that we need to make some improvement, and so we work reflect every single year on those pieces and make those adjustments for our teachers, prepare new teachers that we have coming in, so that they're well prepared to make that happen. So it's
feedback from parents and stuff too. Sure, we do.
Yeah, we do. And especially, yeah, absolutely we do. And through our advisory councils, again, they're a big part of that, which sometimes include parents as part of those advisory councils, and especially at the school level to be able to provide that input and support. Especially when it comes to credentials and that content, our career services team has done the last several years credential nights with parents, so they understand the value of these. So when they're having conversations at home with their student, that they can help be that extra support of why this is really important, and why to give your best effort on these types of things to make sure that they understand. Because as was mentioned earlier, these can be a true absolute game changer for students taking that next step with industry. Last goal for me here is our third goal around really what we call career literacy is the entire system that we look at. But the end result of that is students leaving us with a career plan. And for the second year in a row, we had 100% of our students leave with that individualized career literacy plan. It really guides their next step once they leave us. So that's a culmination of, it starts when a student, first time they start within it. Really, before they start a program, we bring students in and start building that career literacy with them through our Follow Your Arrow nights, and then it continues of course, once they start the program and all throughout, and then culminates with our career coaches, meeting with students and walking through that career and creating that career plan. All the students that walked across the stage got that career plan, a hard copy of that, so them and their parents can really celebrate that and take those next steps. So just a tremendous effort. This has been something that really helps our students. We hear from a lot of students and parents the value of that next step, even if that plan changes, they know, they've gone through the process of determining what that next step is. So even if I have to pivot, now I know what that process is to develop a plan and move forward. So we're happy to support the success and really just have to commend all of our staff at our campuses here at the district level. Everyone that surrounds these support systems for our students are part of these efforts. So the accolades go to them. Now I think I'm handing it over to.
A quick question on the career
Oh, sure,
plan.
I'm sorry, yes.
Students, after they graduate, let's say they decide to go into a completely different field. Do they have access to those other career plans or resources, materials, links? Let's say they
Yes.
go from electrical to medical assisting.
Yeah, they would, and they also have access to come back to our career services support even after they graduate from us. So that's something when students leave us and they kind of become that alumni, right?
Yeah.
We extend those supports to our students to come back if they do change their pathway and hey, our career services team here at the district level as well at the campus level are there to support students and help them navigate that next step if it changes.
That's good.
Yeah,
That is
and-
great.
Yeah.
Cause then that way we can get feedback, and which we're always looking for.
Yeah, and Megan and her team, I think this is gonna get even stronger as we're really formalizing this alumni network through Megan and her team's work. And so I think that will even become stronger in the future where we have this network of alumni that can come back and not just share from us, but share from each other, right? Learn the
Yeah.
stories of, hey, you went down this pathway. Well, if I want to change my pathway, who's someone that I can connect with that's been successful down that road as well. So I think it'll just get stronger in the future.
Maybe, do you have any signed up after recognition? Any sense of that? Because remember we gave that out for students right there at the recognition ceremony with cards to sign up for the Alumni Association right there.
Oh, great.
So last week when I checked, we had 77 recent completers sign up for the Alumni Association. So with that in mind, we're gonna be hosting our first Alumni Association meetup in August. So
Great.
I'll send you the date so you can see the date.
Percent?
Yeah.
77
students.
This is some recognition. Yeah, good job. Right?
Kathy Mace.
If you want a higher number, what U of A's Alumni Association did, if you want the cover for your diploma, you have to fill out the information to join the Alumni Association, and they send you the cover for your
That's
diploma.
That's extortion. You ready to do that?
So I'm just, how many students totally ran through there? So we got 77 out of how many?
1,800.
1,800.
1760 was the.
Thank you.
1716, okay.
It's nice.
Good evening, President Ramirez, members of the governing board. I'm happy to have a discussion about goal 4, which was to convert our current evaluation tools to an electronic format. So we do have a couple of members in the audience that worked on the committee. So if you could just stand up and be recognized if you worked on the evaluation committee, so we can give you a hand. These are the champions for this process. So we met with the committees throughout the year, starting on September 3rd. So we had 3 committees. We had an hourly committee, an exempt staff committee, and a campus administrator committee. And the nice thing about our committees is they didn't just take an evaluation tool and just throw a couple of additional questions in there and call it a day. They pretty much made these evaluation tools from scratch. So we spent a lot of time talking about what's important to you. What makes you the best administrator? How can we show our governing board, our community, our constituents that you're doing your job? So they really were very thoughtful, lots of good conversations, lots of work went into this process, and we're happy to present it to you this evening. So I'm gonna have Joel come up
And we're not gonna go through every evaluation because we do have the tools themselves on the agenda a little bit later for you to evaluate the content. But we thought we'd preview it so you could see what it looked like.
All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Ramirez, members of the board, Superintendent Spurgeon. We wanted to give you a live picture of the demo. So this is not a live account, but this is the demo. You can see this is an hourly and exempt employee evaluation. So what we would go through here, the information would be populated based on the employee. I've pre-selected today as the date that we're going to give this evaluation. It's the annual evaluation based on the time of year or the need. Assessment, select the employee classification. And then you'll see here, these are the 4 ranges, descriptors for the ranges that we have that would apply to all of the different characteristics. So from there, we have 11 varying components that are based on job performance. And this was the work of the committees. We took a number of different evaluations across the nation, other samples, looked at our current system, talked about what was important, and then put these characteristics together. And you can see that based on, for example, job knowledge, any particular employee, I can click on this. And then one of the components that our committee said that they thought was very important, if this is going to be a growth tool, is for the supervisor to document why they received the rating that they received. So it's not simply you're effective, you're developing, you're highly effective, but give me some justification. And that was something that was valuable to our employees. So you'll see this is, each of these 11 have a required field. I've pre-populated a couple of these areas, and then what it will do at the very end is it then calculates the score. The supervisor can add some final comments. And then at that point, it's posted and available for the employee to look at the work that was put together. Then the employee and the supervisor can come back together, have dialogue around it, and then ultimately the supervisor then submits that to finalize. So it's really a collaborative process.
Discussion between the employee and the supervisor. Is there time or ability to adjust one way or the other before it gets submitted?
So thank you for the question. What really does happen is that it's made available to the employee. The employee has time to look it over. They can make suggestions. Oh, you forgot this, or what about this that I did? And then there becomes a dialogue, and then ultimately the supervisor will finalize.
Joe, so do the supervisors, because all this becomes public record, right? Not evaluations, okay, so just be cautious of this type of information they type in there. You know, yeah.
So each evaluation is tracked to, and I was gonna kind of talk about how our systems are integrated. But once we attach an evaluation to the employee, only the employee and the supervisor can see that evaluation. So they will have a list, we create a list, everyone's connected, and that's all that will see or transfer any information.
Okay, so when you measure the growth of an employee, so you get like a time frame.
So you mean over time to look at previous evaluations or?
Growth, so say that, you have a little goal or something like that for you, you're at this point, we'd like you to be like at this point, like 6 months. Is that how you follow up, or is
So
it still
that would be-
always annual?
That would be part of the discussion that they would have with their supervisor in planning their goals. The other nice thing about this system is all of this will be electronically archived. So as employees do their evaluations or have their evaluations, they can always refer back to their former evaluation if they needed to pick up some elements of that into the dialogue.
How often are evaluations done? Besides the annual one? Are they done
Annually,
quarterly or?
yeah, once a year. The
Once a year.
summative is done once a year. Some of our other classifications do require additional evaluations. Our teachers usually do 2 or 3. Yeah. And then there's mid-year check-ins as well.
Now, will the employee be able to see the evaluation before they fill out their copy?
Yes.
So they can see what their supervisor said, then fill out their copy.
Cause that's the goal, is that the employee sees the evaluation, so when they come to that, to have that conference, that dialogue. The employee has the information, has had it ahead of time, and then obviously the supervisor wrote it, so they know what's in here. But it's really important for them to be thoughtful about what's in there and not just get to the meeting and be like, or, oh, I forgot this, or I didn't attach this artifact, at least having it.
Why not have both people fill one out blindly before the other one sees it? Because as an employee, I have a very different view of the job than what you have. And I will talk about what I've done. And it's a different view, and that way, when you bring the two together, you can kind of see where they're coming from.
See if there's a big disconnect. So interesting.
I personally, I wouldn't agree with that because you were hired to perform a specific job. And in that hiring process, you got a job description that says, I want you to pound 10 nails per minute to this board. And if you're only pounding 2, then you're not completing that particular part of the job. Regardless of whether you thought 2 was enough as an employee versus the 10. I mean, I can understand the employee having a different view. I don't know that I see any benefit to having 2 blind completions of.
Well, I would just, taking your example of 10 per minute, you're putting 10 nails in a 1-inch slot. And really, I discovered you only need 2, and so I'm saving 80% of the cost. So my view is totally different. And that's why I think sometimes it's a perspective. I mean, if that's how they want to do it, that's fine, but I just want to make sure that both sides get heard.
So if you think about the state, does it where you write your review and then your leader writes their review and then the leader submits a collaborative review. I know in the Marine Corps and the military, we do our fit rib. And you put in your remarks first and the CO puts in their remarks and you have final remarks. So I like having that. I think there's a value. I mean, because at least then if there's ever a concern of growth, like for instance, case in point, we're asking the employees to do something extra to get the bonus, right? So that extra is not part of their job description. It's something that they're creating on their own to get the bonus. So it's not in the job description. If I found that
It's above and beyond.
bringing bottled water a little bit differently, save us a couple of bucks and I turn it in as a project. And they say, oh yeah, that's great. You save us $2,000 a year. That's not, I didn't get hired to do anything with bottled water,
Right.
but I did it because I want my darn bonus. So,
Okay.
flexibility, I think it's good to be flexible.
Yeah,
Mr. Strong, I gotta tell you, if we had somebody that didn't know that 2 was better than 10, bro.
What I'm saying is, I only need 2, I'm wasting the other 8, and so it's just perspective. But it's all perspective, and so that's where I just want to make sure that both sides get heard, like, I think.
No, I can see that. I can see that. The
The
value.
other thing that everybody needs to understand is that the supervisor can't be everywhere all the time. There's lots of things that happen that we may not necessarily know about. So that's why I always give my folks a time to submit their information based on what they did for the academic year. And I try to include that in their evaluation because I can't be everywhere all the time. And I don't want to short somebody who did some really good work that it just didn't, I wasn't there to show. So the process works.
And the other option that they could do is to print off the employee, if the supervisor, if we go in that direction, they can just print off a paper copy for the employee. And they could fill it out and bring it to that conference, you know what I mean, so then.
We want to get rid of paper.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, that's just one
I
way
was
to do
thinking the same
it.
thing. I was, wait a minute.
I've seen administrators do that so that they are a little bit more prepared for the conference. And then there are areas in the evaluation that both parties can add additional comments. So hopefully that conference will.
The other component that I've seen across the district to address this is regular meetings with employees so that the evaluation is not a surprise. So conversations have been ongoing, opportunities to share, so forth. So there's a lot of great practices with the use of evaluations. We believe it's not a gotcha. It's a great opportunity.
So Joel, is there an opportunity to attach artifacts
Yes, there
We
are.
can talk about that.
Currently, there are not, but in the final product, there will be. So when you're looking at an area, there can be an opportunity to then create an artifact if the employee wants to add an artifact, if the supervisor would like to add an artifact. And that's also available in the teacher evaluation and so forth.
And we don't have the teacher evaluation as part of our demonstration.
That's
or
correct,
as
yeah.
part of the tools that you'll be reviewing this evening, that will be presented to you in July, along with the performance paper.
And then the last feature that I'd like to simply show you up here is the incorporation of the employee performance goals. So they currently are not in the current system of our evaluation process, but as we knew we wanted to put this all together electronically, we integrated the goal process. So a supervisor and an employee can meet at the beginning of the year, establish the goal. There's a mid-year check-in where they can document progress or lack of progress. And then as a part of the completion process with the evaluation at the end of the year, then they can finalize that goal. So it all becomes one complete package.
So how does this measure, at the end of the, the year, you give a percentage raise and stuff like that? How does this relate to the performance or to the?
Matter not met, they didn't met the goal, they didn't,
They-
in order for full, zero full.
The requirement was that they have to receive an overall effective or highly effective, as well as meet all components of the goal. There's not a percentage of accomplishment. For performance pay is.
When you say artifacts, did you mean like supportive documentation, like supportive evidence, PDFs?
Yes,
Or docs,
from the business office, and I write a new process or procedure to enhance the business office effectiveness or something that the AG has indicated that we needed to improve. It might be nice to document that process as an artifact to show that you've met that. Just, you don't want to leave out the opportunity for people to be able to document great work. Plus, it's good for history. It's one that goes back, I wonder where that came on.
Okay.
And so, thank you, Joe. Any other questions? Okay, so now we have 3 platforms that we're using through Frontline. We're using Recruit and Hire, as you know, we changed over to an online application system. The Recruit and Hire platform feeds into Frontline Central, which is the second platform. That's where we are pushing all of our onboarding forms so that they can be pushed out electronically to employees instead of passing all that paper, and it's a lot more efficient with the processing. And then from Frontline Central, that now feeds into what's called professional growth, which is a system that you just looked at, where as they move through these the new employees move through these various processes, the last step is to attach them to an evaluation in professional growth. So now we're using all 3 platforms and they're all electronic, and I'm very happy about it.
I think Kathy, what about training on the new evaluation tool?
Thank you. So yes, that is part of our next steps. We are currently working with teaching and learning so that we can have training for all of our administrators. We're also going to have training for our employees so that they understand how they'll be able to access the system as well. So that's coming up in the summer. We just haven't finalized the date yet.
So you're talking about online training. Do you think it's more effective than in-person training?
It will be in person. Yes. And they will record, they have lots of really good information that will be recorded, as well as other training, like if you get stuck on a certain part of the evaluation, you can click on a help button and it'll tell you exactly what that function is and how to navigate through that, so. Lots of information to be ready. Any other questions about the evaluation? Okay. And I think I'm up for the next goal 5, which was well, thank you, which was to complete an employee survey. So we completed the employee climate survey on January 23rd of this year. We presented the results to the governing board last month at the May meeting. We also had an opportunity to meet with Chairman Ramirez and Board Member Garcia. By the way, thank you for all of your input on the survey process. And we've identified some common things that we plan to implement for next year.
So that has been completed. Any other questions?
What are we planning to implement for next year?
Well, we will be bringing that back to the board and the goals for next year. You have to stay true.
Mr. Strucker, I'm trying to identify maybe possible one of my goals could bring back, and then there'll be some of the information that'll be included in the new 5-year Aurora District Strategic Plan. And sometimes you get information back about things that people have concerns about that you're never gonna be able to do anything about or change or whatever. So you just kind of take everything and make the changes where you think that are appropriate. That would be more for the organization and the other stuff if you get a chance. But we'll find some things that.
It's not a complaint form.
Well, it's anonymous, so.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. We're on to the next section, motion to approve consent agenda items. So I need a motion to approve consent agenda items F1 through F24.
I would like to pull.
Well, first we need to make the motion, second, then discussion. Second, okay, discussion. Ms. Bosom?
Yes, I'd like to pull, and I hope I didn't screw this up because we changed the sequence in the numbers, F2, F3, F5, and F8.
So what's your F2?
F2 is the trust model policy.
Which we discussed last month.
Yeah, that one we're
We're
pulling anyway.
gonna pull and bring it back next month.
Right, yeah, so that one we'll pull and bring it back next month. And then.
We're not pulling the trust policy, are we? The trust policy, we're not pulling, are we?
No, it was the,
Okay.
Then number 3, you said?
F2 was the minutes. And then.
So that's now F3, approval of minutes of May 13, 2026.
Yeah, there was a correction, a small correction in there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. 4, 5.
Is it possible for us to get the correction instead of pulling it off as a separate item and just make the change?
Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah,
Just let Sherry know, we can just make the change. The item is as amended.
that's fine with me. Yeah,
Okay, what's the other one?
wait a second. F5.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is the same thing we did last year as an overall blanket for the students to be able to attend. We used to do it individually and we ended up missing students and we had to hold special meetings. So 2 years ago, we all decided as a board, we'd bring it one time a year to approve all CTSO travel, and it's all done. So it's the same thing we did last year.
Oh, are you doing, I don't think
Okay.
that's the one.
Oh.
Is it the CTSO travel or the overnight travel for?
Look here, it's not the CTSO travel. Looking at just.
Just so everybody knows, June always has a lot of consent agenda items. It's all boilerplate. It's the same thing that comes every June, every year. All by statute, or many of them are by statute.
F8. F8.
Was there another one?
It's the.
F8.
Wait a second.
F8 is overnight out of state travel.
Yeah. And I did have some question on the renewal of the sole source vendors. I had questions on the vendor for TFS results.
Which item is that?
That's
Yes, F6.
Okay, so F6.
Okay.
One of the things I might recommend is that if you have questions about the consent agenda items, let's talk with the departments before we get here. Cause it just takes time for us. If you just have small questions or things we can get answered. We spend a lot of time pulling things off the agenda to ask one simple question we could have fixed earlier in the week, just as a recommendation.
Well, yeah, and I did, I just,
There another one, Linda?
you see.
So F2, we're pulling out
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And then just giving the correction to the minutes.
That's it.
That's it, okay.
Yeah, I can do the correction to the minutes. I can give that to Sherry.
All right, Ed, would you like to amend your motion to pull and table essentially F2 and pull F8 and F6?
F6 and F8, yeah, yes,
Okay,
I'll amend the motion to,
Let me ask you, if we tabled these till July, right?
yeah, F2,
no, just
F2,
just two.
F2.
Just two.
Just the
But
policy.
F8 would be tabled till July.
No, those we're discussing
We're
today.
just pulling out
6 and 8
discussing.
we're discussing today.
And 3, we're just gonna submit the correction so that Sherry can.
Yeah, we don't even have to.
And we don't have to pull it out.
Correct. You second that?
And even for F6, I could probably wait for Ryan to get back to me on those, because I've already asked him a question. It's,
Okay. So we can take that one off, F6.
yeah.
Yes, we'll leave it.
Fix that.
Table F2.
Okay, so then it's just, yeah, we're tabling F2 and pulling out F8. That's it.
So
And what was your correction on F3
Oh,
on the minute?
She's gonna get together with Sherry afterward.
So consent agenda items F1 through F24 as presented, with the exception of F2, which is being pulled and tabled till July. And F3, which is being corrected, and F8.
We don't have to even mention F3. Yeah. We have a motion and a second, Mr. Garcia. Any additional discussion? No, I'll call a question. Click on show voting. Missing anyone? Mr. Slocum?
The second to come up.
Okay, motion carries. Right, we can add that F8, I guess, at the end.
Yeah.
Alright, next section.
Items.
Okay, here we go. It took me a while to get down there. That's a lot of scrolling. Okay, section G, action discussion, recommendation to approve. Jesus Christ, I don't like this new system.
No, we'll get the old stuff.
It was going away.
Are we going on?
Okay, here we go. Finally brought it up. Action discussion, G1, recommendation to approve the draft of IGA for the sale of real property, granting easements, contributions, and joint use of property between West-MEC and Agua Fria. Sir Ryan French?
Thank you, Chairman Ramirez, members of the governing board, Dr. Spurgeon, and West-MEC community. We have a draft IDA for you this evening. We've had our attorneys drafting this document. I think you're aware we are in need of additional space over at our new career academy for parking. Olive Fria, in order to build those 4 new programs, we need additional parking space. Olive Fria has a field that is directly south of our property, adjacent to our property, that they use for their band practices right now. We've been in negotiations with them to purchase approximately 1.06 acres of land, which include that field, as well as on our southeast portion of our adjacent to our property, where an old cell tower was. So we're purchasing those 2 pieces of land. As part of this agreement, this IGA, we have that purchase agreement that's going to be referenced in the IGA, as well as a joint or an easement and a joint use agreement between West-MEC and Agua Fria. The purpose of that joint use and that easement is to allow our students to exit through the Agua Fria campus after they are done with their classes and exit out to Riley Drive. Currently, they're just driving directly east out onto Dysart Road. And since we've done the construction, we've realized left turns out of that drive is almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
The gates or the fences on both sides of Agua Fria's property makes that almost an invisible drive right there, and we want to avoid any issues or accidents with our students. So we've negotiated an easement to allow our students to exit the Agua Fria campus south onto Riley Drive, at which point they can go east and actually hit a light to turn left or right onto Dysart Road. In order to do this, Agua Fria was concerned that we would be driving through essentially their student parking lot. So we've agreed to make some improvements to that drive, which includes speed bumps and crosswalks to help make that as safe as possible for both sets of students. There is also in the document mention of relocation of lighting for Agua Fria. Well, we purchased that piece of property. There are lights on that property currently that they illuminate the band practice. Agua Fria was concerned because the property only appraised for $160,000 that they wouldn't be able to replace those lights onto another part of their field to the east of us. And so we developed a joint use agreement, which would allow our drone classroom to be outside on that field and actually flying the drones. And we would contribute to the relocation of those lights. So there's 3 documents on the item tonight: the IGA and the easement and joint use, as well as the purchase that feed both up into that IGA. What we're asking the board for this evening is to allow Dr. Spurgeon to sign. This is still going to, I believe, to Agua Fria's board. So it's fluid at the moment. We're waiting for Agua Fria to redline this. While we do this, we're also trying to run a parallel track right now and construct the new campus because they're on a timeline and we want to have programs opened up next summer. So in order to do this, we have been working with the city of Avondale, Agua Fria, as well as West-MEC, trying to coordinate because currently right now we have civil work planned to start on the 11th. And it's still Agua Fria's property. So city of Avondale is asking, well, has Agua Fria approved this? And we're trying to get, we're doing joint, approvals through the construction at this point. We're trying to streamline that, get that approved this evening so we can go to escrow, get this item closed and not have to deal with Agua Fria having to approve everything while we get permits through the city. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good work.
Structure, time to get there.
How much are we gonna contribute towards the relocation of the lights?
The document says we're gonna contribute up to half of the cost. Agua Fria would be responsible for the other half, up to $250,000. But it's the relocation of the lights, but also the agreement that we can use that property or that field when Agua Fria is not using it. So we would have access to it essentially through the document.
That was our issue at Central Campus.
So there's a lot of high schools now that have a light at their exit. If the city of Goodyear requires a light and we're also using that driveway, are we on the hook or are they fully responsible for that light?
Member Straka, I'm sorry, I think I misled you, not a street light, but lighting on their field for evening events.
No, I'm talking about a traffic light.
Oh,
A lot of high schools now have a traffic light to exit the parking lot. If the city of Goodyear comes back to Agua Fria and says, we want you to put a light in your parking lot to manage traffic flow, a lot of times they bill the property owner
Yeah.
as much as $800,000 or $1 million. Are we responsible for any of that?
Through
And is
this-
that written in here somewhere?
Through this IGA, it's very clear that they're granting us an easement, that we will construct the improvements on the road, but they're responsible for all costs after that. So it's not in the agreement and we wouldn't be held responsible for it.
And then the last thing, calendars sometimes don't match Agua Fria and ours. If they're closed, do we have a way to open their gates on that side if we're open?
Yes, we'll have a dual lock system where we'll be able to have access to that gate.
That's it.
And that we've aligned our career academy with the Agua Fria, so when Agua Fria was out for spring break, the career academy was closed.
Part of
It's
this, part of this also is allowing Agua Fria to utilize the parking lot that we're gonna be building for sporting events, because they have a lack of parking when they have Friday night football games or to that effect. So it's a joint use agreement, and so they'll be able to utilize that parking lot on weekends or after hours when we're not in session.
Okay. Any questions? Anything else? All right, call the question. Actually, no, I need a motion. A motion to approve the draft IGA for the sale of real property, granting easements, et cetera, everything else stated in this. Can we have a second? All right. And now I'll
Are
call
we
the question.
doing 3 separate votes for all 3 items?
No, we're gonna
One
vote
vote
for all 3.
We kind of live together.
Yeah.
I just showed them separate.
Kind of codependent of each other.
Mentioned Agua Fria and the city of Avenue have been tremendous partners. They're really, really good to work with. Really good to work with.
We received our permit today, and so we're planning to start civil work tomorrow.
All right, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Is that as in moving dirt starting tomorrow? Just in time voting.
Yeah, we're really trying to get that parking lot as completed as close to the start of next school year as possible.
Where everybody comes back. Yeah. Really get all the heavy equipment in there.
And I mean, it should be able to be done.
Next item, Ryan, consideration for approval of the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget.
You guys help me. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Ramirez, members of the governing board, Dr. Spurgeon, West-MEC community. This evening, we're going to be proposing the expenditure budget for fiscal year 26-27. At the start of all my budget presentations, I like to provide the board a budget timeline. Today is not the first time that we've looked at this budget, or at least internally in the district. Budget development begins early in the spring, and started early the spring of this year with me and my staff going out to schools and departments and looking at budget requests for the coming school year. We're looking at programs that are going to be opening up and what kind of capital costs or M&O costs are going to need for the coming school year. So I do want to thank the site administrators and all the departments for their cooperation in this process. I think it's a little bit different of a process than they've had in the past, and they've been very flexible and amenable to the process. I showed June 26th, we're doing our proposed budget this evening. In July, so our next board meeting, we'll do a public hearing, which is required to adopt the budget. After the July board meeting, we work with Maricopa County to set tax rates. We already know kind of what those are as a board. You've already expressed that 13 cents for the bonds is the rate that we're looking at, as well as the 5 cents to the member districts for as being part of the IGA. So it's really not a big process for West-MEC. October, those tax bills are mailed out to our property holders. December is our first required revision potentially. We'll get information from Department of Education if we're required to revise or not. This year, because the state has not released a budget, we are proposing and adopting on draft forms. So the ADE and the AG's office took their best guess as to what the budget's gonna look like. I think Megan Mills talked a little bit about kind of what the makeup of the legislature's been. They did draft the bills, I think yesterday. I think they were in appropriations today and caucus meetings, and we're expecting them to vote on them tomorrow. So there's going to be in this document, there's going to be some assumptions that I've made. I'm going to go through those with you. But most of the assumptions I made were very conservative, and they are exactly what they're putting into this year's state budget. So we will potentially revise in September. That might be the requirement because we're drafting on draft forms. You'll see another revision potentially in December if the state requires it. But finally, the May revision would be the final revision for this budget cycle. We just did last budget cycle's last revision. And then in October of 27 would be the annual financial report for next fiscal year. I'm going to be doing this October, basically the wrap up of last year's budget. So we're in 2 budget cycles, and I always provide this slide just to make sure the board kind of knows where we're at. So as I mentioned before, legislature has not adopted their budget this year. So we made educated guesses as to what our base support level is going to look like, what they are going to fund, what they're not going to fund. So these are some of the estimates that we've made. I worked with our SIS team on a conservative estimate of ADM next year. We're estimating an increase of 283 ADM next year, and that's solely based on new programs that we're bringing online at central campuses. We have Southeast Campus coming online. We have a bunch of different programs that are adding sections or adding brand new programs. So we're expecting, this is a very conservative estimate of what we believe our increase is going to be in ADM. That equates to roughly 3% of our ADM currently. So we're looking at a 3% increase. The state legislature is required to provide to school districts the inflation index or 2%, whichever is less. Well, I think, as you know, 2% is going to be less because inflation's kind of got out of hand the last couple of months and this last year. So they are increasing the base support level by 2%. What that equates to is essentially $102 per weighted ADM of additional funding. There has been no change on district additional assistance, which is our capital. They are going to fund it at the current level, and then it will become permanent in next year's budget is what I've been told. Let's see. So this is our M&O budget calculations. The 27 base support level is just over $68 million. We get that by multiplying our weighted ADM by the base level amount. Our base support adjustments, $33,500. That's for the audit expense that we have. The state legislature or the state allows us to add that back into our base support level, which gives us a revenue support level of, again, just over 68 million. We are estimating a tuition revenue of 600,000. That could be our ESA kids, anybody that gets charged tuition, that we're expecting about $600,000 in revenue for that. And then I'm expecting roughly an $8 million carry forward into next school year from this school year. So that is an estimate. Obviously, we have not finished this school year, and after June 30th, I have until the end of August, which is called encumbrance period. We have bills that we have to pay before we can finalize what this year's actual spend is. And then this number would change probably in December. Okay, so our general budget limit, $76.7 million for M&O. Capital budget calculations, the 26 unrestricted capital budget limit was $81,500,000. That is the number that we talked about briefly in May when we revised this year's budget. I am estimating that we're gonna spend roughly $42 million this year in capital. That was going to be to finish any of the projects that we had currently started prior to the bond passing. So we had bond projects on, and that's phase one of Southeast Campus. That's gonna be phase one of Agua Fria Campus. So I'm estimating about a $42 million spend. Again, that's gonna be a fluid number until we close the books on this school year. That leaves us roughly 39.5 in capital. We're gonna get an allocation of roughly $6.5 million. So we're looking at an 2027 unrestricted capital budget limit of just over $46 million for next school year that we'll have access to.
What is this capital allocation?
This is, so we get funded both on a maintenance and operations, which is a lot of it's our pass-through money to our member districts, it's our salaries and benefits, it's our supplies. So typically I equate supplies to paper and pencils. West-MEC's changed my idea of what supplies are. But that's our maintenance and operations. Our capital allocations is our district additional assistance. That's anything that's by us buying 18-wheelers, that's us buying airplanes, that's us finishing buildings and that aren't gonna be paid out of bond funds.
That 8 million carry forward, we're moving to capital as well.
No, I'm keeping the 8 million carry forward in maintenance and operations. And so my general budget limit for M&O is gonna be roughly $76 million.
But that's for 27.
That's for next year.
Anticipating.
So if you take a look at that, that's what is that? It's just under 10% carry forward. We've had conversations about a carry forward policy. That roughly gives us about 2 months of operating expenses. If we were not to get funded from the state, we have about 2 months of operating expenses to operate the district.
What's the anticipated carry forward from this year?
I'm anticipating $8 million
About 8 million coming
from this year going into next year.
into next year. So it's gonna stay pretty static.
That was roughly $7.6 million last year.
And historically, we've moved that to capital. Is
We-
that the intent, or you're just gonna keep it at
So,
M&O?
you're correct, Member Straka. I did in the budget form see that we moved roughly $5 or $6 million into capital last year. Dr. Spurgeon and I had that conversation. We are at full liberty to do that. But I haven't talked with him about strategically if we're gonna do that or not this year. But I'm able to do that at any time in a budget revision that I would bring before the board.
I just remember one year we had to move it, or the legislature was talking about sweeping everyone's M&O budget to help the state shortage or something. Just for the next month, could we get the column added, and could you just compare 27 to 26 so we could kind of see the difference side by side
Of expenditures.
for both capital budget and M&O? So
Exact same categories, just 26 last year.
yeah, so where it says amount, make that 2027 amount, and then another column 2026 amount, so we can compare this year to last year.
Sure. Send that out in a update.
Just bring to next month.
The next one.
Board meeting, that's all.
Of course.
Are we gonna create a policy on carry forward?
We're having a discussion about that. I did meet with them and they're gonna look into the pros and cons and then working on bringing a presentation to the board.
We've always moved, I don't want to get too far off the budget, but we've always had carry forward. And I think it has worked well. And if we make too much of a policy, then we tie Dr. Spurgeon's hands. what if he needs to spend a couple extra million in M&O one year, and we said, oh no, gotta move this all to capital, because once it moves, I don't think it can move back very easily.
Yeah, and that's part of the conversation and the presentation that I hope that we have in the future, so we can have that discussion.
You'll bring that back at a later date. Yeah.
Whenever the board, at the board's pleasure, so. I wanted to add this, it's not a big, this was, when I was at Littleton, a bigger topic of conversation because we were setting tax rates. Since we already have tax rates established here at West-MEC, it's less of it's a moot point. But I did want to show you primary assessed valuation. This is the entirety of West-MEC's boundaries. And so what the assessed valuation has done since FY 22. So roughly we've gone from 19 billion in assessed valuation to over 25.5 billion dollars in assessed valuation. You see the percentage changes on the right-hand side. I have it written down to make sure I don't mess this up, but annual growth is on existing property is limited to 5% annually. That was Prop 117 years ago. However, growth from reclassification of property and construction is not limited. So anything over 5% you're seeing here is because there is vacant property being transformed into either commercial property or residential property, and they're putting houses or they're putting warehouses or factories, facilities on there. So we're seeing a significant growth in West-MEC. We've had conversations with Stiefel, and I think you've had presentations with Stiefel on what they're projecting this annual growth to be, and they're very conservative in their estimates. I just wanted to show you that that over the last 5 years, we've been consistently over 5%, which is very good for us repaying bonds going into the future.
That was gonna be my next question. How does this, what we projected for 13 cents and what this actually means at 13 cents? Does it help the scuttle rate?
That's what we're gonna ask Brian that question, because my first thought was, is it beneficial for us to pay the bond down earlier or to start picking off some of the ones that maybe have a higher interest rate like we did before?
Right.
It could be more financially beneficial to pick some of those off.
Yeah.
Early.
We'll need to talk with Stiefel a little bit, because some of the bonds that we may have call options that they're not callable for 5 years or whatnot. Some of our bondholders don't want you calling bonds right away. They're looking for a consistent source of revenue. So Stiefel's gonna have a lot of that information and they can provide that to the board going. But I just wanted to provide you this illustration showing that we've had tremendous growth in the district over the last 5 years.
Do we know what, because TSMC is in our district, what has that been assessed at?
That's a great question. I don't have that number.
You know, it's a $100 billion plant.
Yeah.
And
65 billion.
yeah, so how much of that is now in the tax space and how much is still coming? Because you start to add those numbers.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I haven't.
What?
Tax incentive. Whenever they got that property, I don't know what it is. I don't think it was ever publicly announced, but there was a tax incentive.
Yeah.
So they're not, they might not be.
I don't have an answer for you,
Yeah,
Member Straka, but I can see if I can find out.
That's a Stiefel question.
Yeah. Good, leave that one for Brian. I appreciate it.
Just let him know it's coming.
So that concludes the presentation. I've attached the copy of the budget to the board docs. So if you have any questions or comments about that, I'm happy to answer them. But other than that, I'm just asking that the board approve the proposed budget so we can move to adopted budget in July.
Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve it. I have one question. How much have we changed that fund for satellite campus that we send back to the district?
Member Straka, we have not settled on a number yet. I have put a placeholder in that line, but Mr. Guy and myself and Dr. Spurgeon have not come together and had that conversation. Last year, I believe it was November, or was it October that we had that approved?
Yeah. By September, we brought into the board in September. I apologize for that exhibit that goes to that you guys approved, and then also our member district boards approved. The total allocation in there.
So we are working through that number and that will come back as exhibit B and C to the IGA with the member districts at a later date.
But we're gonna bring you in because there was a couple things you suggested that we were gonna implement in the new formula moving forward. So we're gonna bring you in sometime in the next couple of months and walk you through that.
As a plan to teacher salaries, how can we? Oh, yeah, you know my concerns.
All right,
Voting,
yeah, we have
Want me to
a
second?
second?
Second.
Okay, second?
Yeah.
All right, any additional discussion? No, okay, call the question. Motion carries.
Mr. Straka, did you vote?
Yes.
Yeah,
I was having trouble getting my
Thanks,
my password in too quick.
right, item number 3, 2026 through 2027 employee evaluation, Ms. Kathy Mace.
Yes, good evening again, Chairman Ramirez, members of the governing board. We demoed an example of the electronic evaluations that we are planning to use in the frontline system. And so what we are asking this evening is that the governing board approve the tools themselves. And that would be the tools for the exempt employees, the exempt supervisors, the campus administrators, the hourly staff, and the campus counselor. And I would just ask for a modification in the minutes because it says it is recommended that the governing board approve the evaluation tools for additional positions that we are not looking at this evening. So you won't have in front of you the instructors, the career coaches, or the adult ed staff members that will be presented to you at a different meeting.
So, sorry, which ones are you pulling up?
So we are,
Instructors?
yes, we're asking for them to approve the campus administrator, except supervisor, the campus counselor, the exempt employee, and the hourly.
Can I ask you a question,
Yes.
Kathy? Is it possible that we can add these evaluations to our policy for the website so the constituents can see the rigorous guidelines that we ask of our employees? I think that'd be a good idea. And then another thing I was wondering is if we can tie these evaluations to student test scores.
So for some of the evaluations, it does have a student data component, particularly for the campus administrators. I think the counselors also have an student data or an assessment or a completion component. So that will be part of the write-up.
Awesome.
Are any of these weighted more than others?
Sorry.
Are any of these categories weighted more than others?
Yes, that was also part of the discussion, and particularly in the campus administrator one, just to make sure that as we look at evaluations across classifications, for example, the campus administrator evaluation tool was just as, had as much heft as the teacher one. So in each of the different rubrics, the committees decided, well, this is the point value, or this is how we're gonna assess this particular skill, and this is how it's gonna affect the score. So to answer your question, yes, they are weighted based, and it will come out in the total evaluation score.
So as an example, like Dr. Spurgeon and the assistant superintendents and even the campus administrators, I'd expect leadership to be weighted much heavier because 90% of the job's leadership. Are they weighted heavier, or what's the weighting for leadership in those?
That is a great question, Board Member Stratton, because this year We just decided to do the exempt supervisor evaluation for our leadership for this year. But our plan is to have an additional tool for our cabinet members, assistant superintendents, to your point, that may look differently than just an exempt supervisor who may be for example, a payroll manager. But for this year, because we had so many different tools that we had to create, we wanted to give that a little bit more thought. So we probably will be bringing a different tool to you next year for you to review. Any other questions?
All right, and can I get a motion to approve the
I'll move there,
What is it, the-
be approved as presented.
Second.
second, Ms. Molina? Any additional discussion? I do have actually a point of discussion. This one. As an example, I'm looking at the West-MEC campus counselor evaluation.
Huh.
I noticed that in the table, you have 4 columns: highly effective, effective, developing, and ineffective. Under developing and ineffective, it'll say something like missing some components of effective. Components of effective, is that referring to the bullet points in both the highly effective and the effective columns?
Yes, so the committee decided to use that particular language rather than just have like a mathematical computation. And so to answer your question, yes, it is.
Okay.
And just bring up one more question, if I may. On developing, when we have an employee go from one position to another, they're gonna be learning and they're gonna be developing. So I would expect, you know, hey, they moved in March, now we're doing a review. Do we review the first 9 months, what they did in their old role, and then wait it for the last 3 months with the new role? And the developing should be okay because they've only been in the role less than a year. How do we handle that?
And that's a great question that was brought up in committee for employees that change positions. And our recommendation was the 2 administrators, the one that is losing that employee and the one that the employee is going to, would confer. So at least they would have some data from their performance in their current position and not necessarily create a disadvantage to them because they're new and or because they're going to a new position. So the plan is for them to confer, and then so the employee would have a more fair evaluation.
In the context of this evaluation narrative, I don't see developing as being a derogatory statement. It is, you're learning, and as long as you're continuing to learn, and in some areas, you will be highly effective and effective, but in other areas, you might be developing. I see that as a positive thing as opposed to a negative thing.
You're always developing.
Well,
Yeah.
Exactly.
but to get their bonus, if they're developing, they don't get their bonus.
That's correct.
Correct,
And so that's where I'm with you. That's why I'm like asking, it's like, hey, in their first 12 months, they're developing.
That's where
It affects the
the
bonus.
conference between the losing administrator and the gaining administrator would say, well, okay, they're in this area, but
But I guess we also said,
we've got to have the ability to override that and say, yes, they should get the bonus
we
because
did say if they change positions, they lose the bonus, because that's one of the things we talked about back in January of last year.
Yeah.
Correct.
So if you move positions, you don't do a goal. Because it doesn't fit you anymore.
Yeah, you're in a different role.
We couldn't create a
They
new
would have to complete the goal. Depending on what that goal is and depending on when they move, it's a lot of different factors as to whether or not they would qualify. And then we also have an appeal process so that if the employee strongly feels, well, hey, I really did a lot of work in my former position toward my goal, can there be some reconsideration for my performance pay if I'm developing in my And I think that that would be a valid argument.
Any other questions on the evaluation tools? None? Yes.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll call a question. I almost called you Dr. Molina.
Not in your life.
Motion carries, thank you. And I don't see that item that we pulled earlier, the overnight. I don't see it on the agenda, F8.
It should be. I showed us four. Showed us number 4, overnight out-of-state travel.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll refresh, I'll call it while I refresh. Right, overnight travel. Yeah, who can we get to speak on that? Couldn't hear what was yeah, it's not your motion, Ms. President?
So. We've got both Sean and then we have Aaron, we've got 2 people going to the New Orleans conference and stuff like that. And I was wondering, we can start maybe, grooming people together. To save money, I think that would be a good idea. And then it looks like Lisa or the other presenter that's going to the same ACT Vision conference is her registration fee is not being waived, even though she's a presenter. So why is she paying full price and the other 2 are being waived?
All 3 are presenting
Yeah.
that conference?
Who's being waived?
I'm
being waived. Okay.
Yeah, and so is Rashad.
This is Dr. Sorkin. I'm a pre-conference presenter, which is like your request last month about sometimes we get recovered for some costs in a pre-conference since it's a longer session. Shelley, as a internal board member, and I believe that's what Rasan has also, it's waived and they passed it to me because they were already waived. So it was an incentive to get us to do a pre-conference effort, which is why there's a disparity in the cost.
So what exactly is pre-conference? What do you mean?
So the conference exists on, say, Wednesday to Saturday. We'll go in and teach a coursework on difficult conversations the 2 days prior to the conference. So people pay an additional fee to come in and receive that. I'm using dates. I don't remember the dates off the cuff. Yeah.
So it's stuff that happens before the opening session and there's extra fees related to it.
You and Rashawn are.
It's all part of the
presenting
same
at that.
conference, but.
Correct.
Okay.
And because they charge extra fees, that's why we're recovered for some of that. Is what I understand it to be.
Okay. Have we asked for them to waive the other fee?
That's not gonna happen. I haven't asked that, but I'm sure it's not gonna happen. The extra fees that folks pay to be a part of the pre-conferences typically offset their ability to waive the fee for the person coming to present. And they're putting incentives out there for us because they want West-MEC to be, I mean, we're one of the leaders in the nation, so they want us to present.
And Lisa's not presenting in that pre-conference.
No.
Okay, no, that's why she's not getting waived.
Right.
I think you guys are the only ones out of West-MEC that are doing it.
Correct. So what's cool about it is not only did they grant us the 4 guaranteed presentations, but they're also granting us pre-conference presentations now as well. So.
Ms. Boozum, we do get some scholarships because we're the membership that we have with ACT. We do get scholarships, so I think we get maybe 4. Jared, do we get, you may know the answer to this, do we get like 4 comps? We get so many comps per year that the registration's way.
I don't.
It's our membership. It's a number, I'll find out where we get, there's a few of them that are waived because of our membership with ACT. That's the only ones that they waive except for the pre-conference ones. I guess from my perspective, it would be just to know what they're doing, to go to the conferences would be my only concern. I know everyone's got a role. Why they're even invited, but I think when I look at the application, I don't see really where it says professional development. I mean, that could mean a myriad of things. But just something to say, what are they doing when they're there? That would be important for me.
Yeah, we get that in the updates, right? The.
Yeah, when they get
After the fact, yes.
Yeah, well, to approve it before then, for this, it's overnight travel. So. We approve it and then here later, there's like 10 people doing the same thing, that'd be one thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's happening. I just think that that's to answer doubt. That would be something we could provide.
Are these our first approvals for ACTE this year? Or?
No, I think you did mine and maybe one other one last month, maybe.
It might be helpful to also know how many people from West-MEC are going, just to get a better picture.
Any other
Yeah,
questions, comments before making a motion?
oh, I'm not done yet. See here.
Hello, see it on my agenda outline.
So it looks like, okay, Ryan is going to the ASBO. It's all been waived. Matt is going as well. And Matt is he present? I don't think he's presenting. But why can't Matt go to the ASBO? I think there's another conference that's coming up that's right here in Phoenix. There's one in July, yeah, there's one in Tucson in July. And then there's another one in January 27th.
Here in Arizona?
Yes. The one in the January 27th is right here in Phoenix at the Civic Center. So instead of doing it now, why don't we hold off and you can go to either one of those two conferences.
Yeah, I guess maybe to add to Mr. Garcia's point, if we could just get a little more detail of why this conference and not some others, that would help the board not have these questions maybe.
But the issue is that we can't answer that question because you're asking me to look at a 2027 conference that hasn't been created yet.
The agenda.
So we can't even tell you what the agenda is going to be.
Agenda.
And it's not like going to a car lot with the same cars on it. You can't just go from Arizona to Pittsburgh to Little Rock and go this, buy the same cars. It doesn't work that way. It's still one concession.
They're all different venues. I understand that.
Yeah, different venues.
But they have a different, well, only from my perspective, Linda's perspective is different, but mine is just to make sure that we're just not sending a whole army out for a little thing every single time. I mean, I understand the value, I get it. And all these conferences, it's the venue and the audience, the national versus the state versus regional. So they're all different conversation pieces and exposure pieces. So I totally get that. I just think to make it more clear, just speaker, presenter, panelist.
What you're speaking.
Yeah.
What you're presenter for.
Work-based learning,
This wasn't
robotics.
And I think one of the things that we may want to consider, if at all possible, if we can do these over the course of the time that school is out. So it has less of an impact potentially on who's going, so that I think it would have less of an impact if you're going over the summer as opposed to in the middle of school year. Now, obviously, there's some times when that's not gonna be possible because, you know, especially if you're speaking to an audience and it's gonna be in January or February, whatever. I mean, that's when you've got to do it, but
Well, some of these national groups there, they don't answer to us.
well,
You know, they're national groups, they have their own agenda. It's kind of like the defense fair. I mean, you don't tell DOD what to do.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna do what they say, and if you don't go, you don't go. Conferences are pretty much the same way, you know, these organizations, but again, it's the venue. What are they bringing to the table? And what they usually bring to the table is innovative conversations about what the rest of the country's doing in these programs. You won't know about it unless you read it, and you won't read it unless you are in those abilities to read it. And you'll never meet those people unless you go out and meet those people. So I do see the value, and we discussed it before at length.
I have a question, Ms. Muslim. You mentioned the other ASBO conferences in Arizona. Are those regional state conferences or are they also national conferences? This was a national conference, right?
Kevin Ramirez, I can answer that.
President.
So the ones that Linda had mentioned, those are all state conferences. We'll have an annual conference in Tucson in July. The one that she referenced in November or in January is a two-part conference. It's a vendor conference, a vendor buyer conference. So that's our purchasing people as well as our vendors and making sure that they're on the same page when it comes to state procurement. The second day of that is audit and compliance. So there's, to that point, nothing really for facilities at that one. We also have a conference that are geared towards our facilities groups in April. So we run 3 conferences annually statewide at our local affiliate in Arizona. ASBO International, which is the one that we're requesting for approval this evening, runs one international conference that brings everybody from the all over the country. And then they have some leadership conferences, a leadership and an advocacy conference throughout the year as well.
So these are not all copycat, basically copy paste conferences.
The one in July is, he can't get the same information from the one in July.
He'll definitely get professional development on facilities and how to run roof inspections and keep our facilities up to date. I can't say it's gonna be the same information because it won't be the same presenters. I think to Member Garcia's point, we're gonna have innovative ideas that they're doing in different states or how they're doing certain things. So we've taken a lot back from international conferences like that.
And the statewide ones are kind of unique because that one, all the schools in the state are presenting. So EVIT is presenting, WAVE is presenting, MIDS-TED is presenting, Native is all presenting. Standy's presenting, so they're all 14 districts will be at those, and there's a lot of conversation. You guys should probably go to it to really see what it all entails. And then AVE speaks about what the future of our policies and procedures is gonna be for the following year. So it's involved.
Yeah. I guess the only 2 cents I would add is maybe for Mr. Heath, we could just add some context of, hey, for facilities management, this one has historically had X, Y, and Z, just so we can get a little more context, because like you said, you don't know the agenda, but you know what historically has been there, and then that will maybe answer some of your questions.
Steve Boss.
And then there was another one, that we have a new employee that doesn't start until July, and she is going to be a presenter. You know, was this something that was West-MEC planned, or is this something that, you know, she used to work for Dysart? Is this something that they planned? Well.
Thank you for the question. So yes, I did a little circuit with Heather Webb and Lori Luzier, and we did Midwinter and we did Akova, and then we wanted to do this, and they both worked at Dysart at the time, so we planned it, and now just tonight, Heather was hired at West-MEC, so she had already done her stuff at Dysart, but needed to change it here so that, because we already got approved to be presenters, so lo and behold, the 2 that I was doing the presentation with are now West-MEC employees, which we're really excited about, but didn't know that when we put in for the presentation.
And again, I think that when we have more than, we've got 2 women or 2 men or whatever, why can't we room together to save cost?
I think that's inappropriate.
Thank you for the question. From an HR perspective, I mean, we have to treat each other as professionals. They're not going to camp. if they are going as professionals. And there could potentially be some liability if there are some things that have to be addressed in terms of certain behaviors. So there are definitely good reasons to have your own room. So please keep in mind, I have had to deal with some pretty interesting situations, but for the most part, I think we should treat each other as professionals. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
You know,
Alright,
Mr. Chair, on travel, are we doing good on our budget? Are we over our budget, under our budget? Where are we at with our travel budget?
do we have a budget for travel? An annual budget?
Yeah, I can give you a list of what has been
Honestly,
approved in the
yeah.
budget,
Yeah.
and where we're at currently fiscal year to date. There's so many, there's a lot of ways that we can provide that information if,
Just a number.
Yeah, I had talked to member Bussum as well about, in this coming year's budget, actually line iteming those items for all the school sites, so they have a number to hit. What we had done before is given them a lump sum, and then they were able to kind of spend as they chose.
Do we still have that? Do we still have the lump sum?
That's how we're doing it this fiscal year. I'm making that adjustment for next year.
So that total would be essentially the budget.
Right, so say I gave, a school $100,000. They can spend up to $100,000, no more. If they wanted to buy no supplies or do anything, they could theoretically spend it all on travel and registrations. But I'm trying to give them a target to hit for next
Okay,
year.
I think that's appropriate. I mean, I think if we had a budget, then if it's under budget, then I think we more than likely to make sure it's.
I'd like to see some kind of a policy where we, there was a certain percentage of the budget. Because right now it's willy-nilly.
Well, I don't think it's willy-nilly. We just haven't seen the
It's
numbers.
just, it's
Something feels-
escalating. Well, it's over $150,000.
But we have, that's not even $1,000 a person.
For this year?
Yes.
Well, we're not sending everybody either.
1,000 roughly. I think to member Straka's point, we have 200 employees.
230, like 230.
So we're spending about $750 to
37.
And it's 150,000.
Yeah, I had it wrong, cause I have half that number.
$4 million budget.
Well, but who are we sending? We're sending administrators and some of our teachers, that we're not sending, the janitors and, everybody else.
Yeah.
So, half that.
I'm all about opportunity, so.
I'm good with opportunity. There was just one employee we had. She was here for 3 months. We sent her to 2 conferences and then she left for a better job. And so I don't wanna send people and then have them use that as a network opportunity to get a different job.
Yeah, I don't think any system you're gonna create is gonna be perfect. I think there's always gonna be someone taking advantage of something. That's just human nature. Put everybody in a cage, put them on a leash and make them check in every quarter.
I need a
Something help.
I need a
I'll
motion.
move that we approve the travel as presented.
With Heather. I understand that there may be a discount because she is presenting.
Yes. I haven't seen
It's not on the,
on the paperwork. Okay, I will find out about that. There was $100 that was less to be a presenter, so.
2 years.
Find out.
Alright, can I have a?
I
Somebody
made
make a motion?
Yeah, did anyone second my motion?
Second.
Okay. Additional discussion, on the question? Motion carries. Alright. Will we do future agenda items right now or?
We go future agenda.
Okay, and then executive session and then we come back. Okay. Reason I ask is there's another action discussion after. Alright, future agenda items.
I think one of the, well, no, it won't be an agenda, never mind.
No, okay.
Well, I'd like to see some kind of a report on how many West-MEC employees attend these conferences and break it down into how many administrators, assistants, teachers, you know, what departments are they from? How many go once a year, which conferences? How many go multiple times and which conferences? And then, and how many were presenting? And who asked them to present? Did we offer or was it,
Hmm,
you know?
Okay.
So I'd like to see just some information.
it's a lot of work. Look at the report. Alright, yeah, send that to me and Dr. Spurgeon. No, what do we do that? Okay, any other agenda items? No, this one?
Miss Wiley, you've been quiet tonight.
This, no. No, none, okay, alright. So next item is executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we convene executive session as prescribed by ARS for the superintendent's goals.
Do we have a second? Okay, Mr. Garcia, oh, he beat you to it. Got me. Call the question.
Ms. Buzzins, would you vote? What was that? Oh, sorry. Thank you, Barb.
Okay, motion carries. Move into executive session.
Okay.
I'm booked.
Reconvene the regular session of the board meeting.
All right, can I get a second? I second. Call the question.
I think we can do a voice vote.
We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, everybody's in favor, motion carries.
Anybody watched one of the all three of those board meetings? The way they do it, they go Garcia, yes, Boosum, yes, Wiley, yes, Chalky, yes, Melina, yes.
Yes, it's bad.
Oh, I was collecting signatures today and oh my gosh, did I get an earful about the Deer Valley?
Oh, my.
I'm not running for that board. Well, you need to do something. I'm like, I can't do something about that board.
Your belly.
So, Deer Valley, actually, she did the
Let's,
Heil Hitler move.
Let's finish the meeting. All right, action discussion, section 1, action regarding the superintendent's year-end performance evaluation for the 2025-2026 school year.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that, as discussed in executive session, the superintendent is entitled to 100% of his performance pay.
Get a second?
Second.
Okay. And I'll call the question. Mr. Garcia?
No, I have a question.
No, sorry, not call the question. Yeah, call the question, like, we're gonna vote. Not you have a question.
Yay.
Oh, okay. Boosum?
Yes.
Wiley? This is Straka.
Yes.
And yes.
And myself, yes.
So you already did that.
All right, motion carries. Oh, actually, no, that first item was to,
The first item was to reconvene.
yeah, no, I think it was a motion to approve the summary of the superintendent's year-end performance evaluation reflecting the superintendent has achieved and improved the goals. Motion to approve
Yeah,
the
so
summary.
the first we received.
So that was to approve the summary that we received from you, right? Like the
Yes, correct.
documentation.
Correct, that
Yeah.
you're approving the one that you've received and that I've met the goals. The second one you've already approved.
So we did it out of order, yeah, we
Yeah,
did number 2, so let's go back to number 1.
Motion to accept that the superintendent has met his goals for the 25-26 school year.
Yes, okay. Mr. Garcia,
Yay, yes.
Ms. Boozem,
Yes.
Ms. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Straka.
Yes. Who made that motion?
You did.
I did. Well, somebody's gotta make that motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the summary of superintendent's year in performance evaluation reflecting the superintendent has achieved the approved goals.
I'll second it.
Second, all right.
Yay, yes.
Ms. Boozem, Mr. Wiley, Ms. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Straka.
Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you. Thanks for the
Thanks,
help.
everyone.
Thanks for the assist.
Very much.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to approve. Hey, so I answer my question about the.
Oh, yes.
performance pay?
Oh, yeah.
I thought we were gonna do something similar for the employee. When we talked last August, we had to bring back an RSF or something for the board to approve for them to get paid. Is that happening in the June meeting or is that happening in the July meeting?
Kathy, they've already approved the actual payout. That comes in August for the next year, correct?
No, we have to approve because we talked about, we approved the goals, but we have to approve the pay out of them.
Yeah, we'll bring on a list. That has everybody.
Yeah, sorry.